Okay, in this movie we're going to go over our 11th question type in the argument section, the paradox questions. Okay, so the basic info for these paradox questions is that the content is never an argument. Instead, you're going to be given two distinct pieces of information, and it's generally going to be in two separate sentences. And the two pieces of information appear to be contradictory. Now, this question has several different wording variations. You'll get which one of the following, if true, does most to resolve or reconcile the apparent discrepancy or the apparent paradox or the apparent conflict in the information above. Basically, you're going to be asked to resolve, to reconcile any discrepancies, paradoxes, conflicts, anything along that nature. When you see those words, you know that you're dealing with a paradox question. The correct choice obviously resolves the paradox, and these questions are relatively less frequent. They appear about 2 to 4 times per test, usually less than 4. So they're not quite as frequent as the weak and strengthen or principle questions, but they're not terribly rare either. So basically, the content, the passage, is going to contain two apparently contradictory pieces of information. And the pieces of information appear contradictory because it looks like they both can't be true at the same time. And in order to resolve this contradiction or paradox, you'll have to choose the choice that introduces another piece of information that allows the two seemingly contradictory pieces of information to be true at the same time. Generally, the two pieces of information seem contradictory because the reader tends to equate two things that it's usually plausible to equate. And the correct choice will cause you to notice and look critically at that equation. Okay. In terms of our approach, the most important thing to have a good idea of is the central paradox. You need to have a good idea of why the information is seemingly contradictory in order to be able to see why it's not. So first, make sure that you identify the paradox. Ask yourself which two pieces of information can't be true. Next, evaluate the paradox by trying to think of ways in which it's not really a paradox. Look to identify precisely what the subtle differences are between the key elements in the two pieces of information, and use that to get an idea of what kind of scenario might allow for all of the information to be true. However, don't spend a lot of time trying to figure out what the correct answer choice is specifically going to be about, because there are a potentially unlimited number of scenarios that could reconcile the seemingly contradictory information in the passage. Third, evaluate the choices by adding that information to the passage and looking to see if that allows the contradictory pieces of information to both be true. Okay, in terms of right answer and wrong answer, the correct answer choice is going to add new information that allows you to create a scenario where all of the information in the passage can be true. It's generally going to give a reason why an implicit equation between key concepts in the two pieces of information is invalid. The incorrect answer choices are going to add new information that isn't relevant by not tying in both of the contradictory pieces of information, or that actually strengthens the contradiction. And it's important to pay attention to the answer choice to see if it's actually relevant for both pieces of information. The basic approach to doing these questions is to have a good grasp of the paradox and to try and carefully look to see what the implicit assumptions are that you're making.